So our study tonight, April the 25th, 2018, Bible study, Wednesday night Bible study, will be the kings of Israel and Judah. And this night we'll be studying from 1 Samuel chapter number 16. 1 Samuel chapter number 16 is where our study will begin, and what we'll be dealing with is the study of King David, which is say the actual subtopic of this series is David is anointed king. David is anointed king. And so therefore we're going once again to 1 Samuel chapter number 16. And we will see at this time that David is going to be anointed the king even while Saul is still in office. 1 Samuel chapter number 16. And this is the power of this particular lesson that we are involved with, is that Almighty God has determined Saul as unfit as a leader. And although he's still in office, God has chosen David. And I think a lot of times when some of us on the earth look at this lesson, we think David becomes the king after Saul is dead, and this is when he takes over. David is God's king already. Saul is just occupying the seat, as we talked about, like somebody en route to come relieve you of your duty. And we're going to see the display of the power of this young man, David. He's not a little boy, and sometimes the drawings make him, he's just a young man. He's too young for war and the idea, but he's not a little boy. And so the thought is that David is going to be selected by the Lord to be the king. Even though Saul holds the post, God is not with him. And this is the thing we want to help us to understand when we are baptized into the kingdom of God. Revelations 1, 5, and 6 says he made us kings and priests. And we studied that before we got to this particular portion. And this helps us to understand that at that point God is with us. And this is where there's a separation. And God has already selected that, Saul is just not going to act right. So verse 1, 1 Samuel 16, and the Lord said unto Samuel, along with thy mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel, fill thine horn with oil and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided, me a king from among his sons. Now, they're going to show the three come out because they're the eldest, but Jesse actually has 8 children, and we'll see that in the 17th chapter. David is one of 8. The 3 eldest that come out first are the individuals that he's looked at. He knows about the children that he has. Then after he looks at all the children that could possibly be, as Samuel doesn't look at them because of their age. Once he talks to the Lord, he says, there any other children anywhere that can be anointed? Because this anointing is making him a king, just as young Josiah was selected king. He has counselors around him, helping him. But he is selected king at a very young age, and then he becomes a teenager. He begins to grow and develop. He starts making decisions. And then once he gets to reign, he shows himself mature. Then he takes over. So there's never a little child ruling. But David is not a little child. He's a young man. And so in this section, it doesn't quote a specific age. But it says here in verse 2, Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hear it, he will kill me. Now I want us to remember that. If Saul hit, he would kill me. Now I made mention last Lord's Day that when Saul and Samuel parted ways, I mentioned to you all, it wasn't in that particular chapter 15, but I mentioned to you all that the reason Samuel doesn't go around him was because he's going to kill him. He hates Samuel's guts. Because Samuel, he knows Samuel just let him worship, but Samuel not with him, and he knows that means God not with him. So he doesn't like Samuel because Samuel's told him you rejected. See, I want us to understand in the lesson, Saul at this point knows that's somebody else God's going to pick. And he knows God always keeps his word. Because he thinks God's going to adjust for the several stupid mistakes he's made, and he doesn't. So he hates Samuel's guts. But he's not crazy enough to go all the way down to where Samuel lives and hunts him out and kills him, because the people are going, hey man, you can't do Samuel like that. So it's like it's a hatred. But if you come around me, just as Abner came around Joab, I'm going to take care of you. And so this is the thought that's there. Saul knows he's on borrowed time, and he goes from bad to worse. And we're going to see some very grievous things happen in this 16th chapter. In addition to that, once David gets anointed, David knows I'm the king. David knows I'm the king. And I'm going to get that throne soon as Saul's out. But he's very wise and knows how to handle himself. But he definitely knows he's the king. And so one of the points I want to make, when you know that God is with you, it doesn't matter what nobody else thinks.
That's right.
It doesn't matter what no one else knows. When he begins to run from Saul, Abigail has already got the story. When he threatens to kill all the men of her household, Abigail tells him, I know you're the anointed king. I know God with you. See, everybody knows, including Saul. Once Saul finds out it's David, everybody knows, Saul, you're on borrowed time. It's just a matter of time. And you say, well, how can they still function? Because they have some degree, Saul has some degree of a fear of the Lord. Some. It's just he's way down on the notch. And that's why you see brethren do certain things, and then there's certain things they don't do. Because they know, okay, that one might get me in trouble. They're like demons. Demons know there's a certain thing you can do, and then there's a certain thing you can't do. And those demons knew when the Lord said, come out, that is a forced pull. See, if you notice, there's such a fear when the Lord casts out the demon and the people of God. There is such a fear, but they come out angry. You know, a kid come out and kick the door. You know, they come out mad, but they know there's something that can happen. So it pulls on them, and it draws them out. The fear, and one thing you and I have to understand is that's why we don't accomplish things we're supposed to for the Lord. Because we're afraid. And that fear becomes like a draw and a pull, pulling us from God toward danger. But faith pulls us from danger to God. And now the draw is so strong, we give in to it. So we give in to faith. As Paul said in Romans 8, we're susceptible to the evil side and we're susceptible to faith. We just make the choice. So, therefore, verse 3, he says, verse 2, finish this up. He says, he'll kill me. And the Lord said, take an heifer with thee and say, I'm come to sacrifice to the Lord. Let's take a moment here and pause. Do you think the Lord is telling him to lie? Nah. So a lot of people look at that and say, well, the Lord said, I want you to go anoint me a king. So the Lord himself says, just take a heifer and make a sacrifice. So now someone go, well, that's not what he's there for. Now, you know, if one of us said that, somebody would say, I'm not going to lie. Did you hear Samuel be stupid enough to go, I'm not going to lie? That's not a lie. Brethren, one of the things you and I are going to have to understand, and listeners, whoever hears this, you need to know what a sin is. And you need to know what a sin is not. What is not a sin, so to say. Because you got some silly people in the world, they don't study enough, and they just blurt out stuff. The Lord, at any time, Samuel owes him honor and glory. At any time. Because without the Lord, Samuel is nothing. And the Lord knows and said, why don't you just make a sacrifice to me? Bring me a sacrifice. Not a lie, bring me a sacrifice. Now they're going to know if they see you make the sacrifice, they're not going to know the other thing you're going to do that. And so if someone, I get, you know, in a lot of cases, if someone had said that, let's say, I'm not going to lie. See, this is what's wrong. So my encouragement to you and to me is to think before we speak. Especially before you throw a stone. Because that's what Jesus got them to do in John 8. He who is without sin cast the first stone. He don't know, I know what the law say. The law knows, I know what the law say. I'm just going to tell you. For who benefit? Yours. Because when you throw at her, it's going to come back at you. Think, if you don't have a sin, throw. Now, but he doesn't throw. And he doesn't have sin. He's trying to get them to understand mercy. But he gives mercy purely because he desires. Because he could have stoned and rocked her to death. Because he has absolutely no sin in his life. And so this is the concept, is that if one has not erred, he still must teach where mercy should be given. And if one has erred, he should be surely encouraged to teach mercy should be given, because he definitely committed the crimes before. And so therefore verse 3 says, and call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show thee what thou shalt do. And thou shalt anoint unto me him whom I name unto thee. So he says, verse 4, and Samuel did that which the Lord spake, and came to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming, and said, come and style peace, because they know when he coming to town, he might be coming to preach and bring a curse upon the land. Somebody done done something crazy. And usually because Saul been acting such a fool, when he making these journeys, he coming to check on this hard-head unbeliever that's going against the law left and right. Saul the king. Verse 5. And he said, peaceably I come to sacrifice to the Lord. Sanctify yourselves. And this is true. He's going to make a sacrifice. It will be unto the law. And he's going to invite a close-knit group of people to the sacrifice. He says, and come you with me to the sacrifice. And he sanctified Jesse and his sons and called them to sacrifice. Okay? So now remember, he first meets the elders. So obviously some of them must have been invited to the sacrifice. Now he invites Jesse to the sacrifice. And so now what's going to happen is he's going to go with Jesse to see, because the Lord said, okay, it's going to be one of his boys. And it came to pass, when they were come, that he looked on Eliab and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before me. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Now, the only way you can avoid verse 7, saints, is if you take on the thoughts of God. That's all. Because if you just judge, I don't care how nice or holy you think you are, I think I am, we're going to always look at the outward. If we do not study, what is the inward? The outward of a righteous man is not the clothes he wears. Although you don't want to come up half naked, because that shows definitely you're not righteous. A righteous point to make is not the amount of money a man has. And people say amen to a minute, but they do judge people by money. A lot of times they lie, but in their heart they judge people by money. Just ask them for something and then they'll show you how much they're going to judge. The third thing is, you don't judge by how long they've been in the church, or how long they've been in service to the Lord. You don't judge by their physical appearance, nice looking, tall, whatever, short with muscles, whatever, beautiful woman, whatever it is. You don't judge that way. You don't judge by who they know, the association, who the people that has approved them. What do you think about so-and-so? You judge by what come out of his mouth and what you see these hands, these eyes, these feet, and this body do. That's how you judge. How to know that? Matthew 15, the Lord said that out of the mouth is where sin comes. And of course, action can prove sins. We understand that too. So we understand what the Lord is saying from the heart. If you see something, you hear something, it's from the heart. And so when people apologize, one of the things we have to recognize to show ourselves righteous, don't ever try to cast aside that you didn't know what you was doing. See, because you're insane now. You know what I mean? That'd be, if you didn't know what you was doing, why apologize? That'd be silly. So you have to know what you was doing. That's why there's guilt. So you just, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Sorry I did it. Sorry I said that. That was wrong. don't go, I ain't mean it, because I'm like, what? If you say, or listeners, I didn't mean that, my next thought is how I know you mean this, right? Now, one of the sad thing about especially couples, children with parents, friends, what type of relationship it may be, if you want people to believe that you're sorry for something you did, you gotta expect them to believe that you meant it when you did it. Because it's like, we don't believe nothing you say now. When you say you're sorry, you might be lying. When you say you're mad, you might be like, well, no, nothing. So the reality is, like the individual Zacchaeus, the evil tax collector reformed by the Lord. He said, if I've done somebody wrong on money, he said, I'm giving it back 4 times. He ain't gonna buy. I didn't know. I'm not real sure. I didn't mean to take too much money. No, he just. That's why the Lord loved him. He said, yeah, I know you gonna shoot it straight out, and you're gonna change. Anybody have any thought or comment? Feel free to address. Now let's look at the next thought. He says that he's been informed you're not doing it right, Sam. You gotta understand. I'm picking from the inside out. He says, then Jesse called Benadab and made him pass before Samuel. And he said, neither hath the Lord chosen this. Then Jesse made Shammah to pass by, and he said, neither hath the Lord chosen this. And Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. So see, now it says that he has 8, because David makes 8, and then it's going to mention it again in the 17th chapter. So it says he's got 8 sons total, and they all came, no matter what age they were. And Samuel said unto Jesse, the Lord had not chosen these. And Samuel said unto Jesse, are here all thy children? And he said, there remaineth yet the youngest. So David is the youngest of all the children we see from him. And he says, that means he's a little boy, he's just the youngest. And he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come in. So we're not sitting down and, dealing with this meal to relax or what have you until we got to do this first. And he sent and brought him in, and he was ruddy and with all of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look at. And the Lord said, arise and anoint him for this to see. So when you look at David, a nice looking young guy. One might would say with this much emphasis on beauty, could have maybe been a model or something. This is heavy emphasis. Beautiful countenance. And you would like to look at the guy. It's a nice looking guy, like a model or something. This guy should have, what would he do for the Lord? A lot of rough guys sometimes leading in battle, fighting, big guys like Saul, taller than everybody else in Israel. He said, no, this is him. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. Now I want to show you something. What is he anointing him to be? A flunky? No. What did the Lord tell him you're going to go and do? He said, verse 1, for I have provided me a king among his sons. That's it. And saints, I'm telling you now, just like when Josiah took over, he has counselors, David is the Lord's king. Saul is simply keeping the seat warm, just as that land belonged to Israel way when Abraham was alive. And he said, I want you to look at the land. That's what I'm going to give him. All your children. He says, the Amorites, the people in the land, the Canaanites, all that, they have made me mad enough yet. He said, my anger's not full of that. See, the Lord is telling him how he's going to be thinking then and how he's thinking now, because he has truth before him all the time. So he lets Abraham know. But it's going to go down. Why? Because they're going to act a fool. Start calling Baal. That's what I'm going to send Israel to kill him and take the land. And this is one of the things you and I have to learn, brethren. And I want to make sure that you and I get this, brethren. I want to make sure you and I get this. If you don't see your life getting right, you should be worried. You might be Saul. You say, how can you say that, Ozan? Because, brethren, just because you're getting blessings and you're coming to church, he's getting blessings, he's winning victories. He went to church all the time. That was a big debate with Samuel. Let me tell the elders, I can still come to worship. I can worship and honor God. Don't mean he's right. And when you see yourself You have to look at what you're doing and what comes out your mouth and what you perform. And I have to do the same. Because you should look back and say, that wasn't right, man. I keep doing this. What's going on here? Because something is going to happen immediately. I want you to remember this. When David is anointing, something immediately happens that only the Lord knows about. But Saul is going to feel the impact, and only the Lord knows it at the instantaneous time it happens. Watch this. Okay. He says he's going to chosen this young man, and this is the one. And it says, the minute he anointed him, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. Y'all see that? So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. Now watch this. The Spirit of the Lord comes on him immediately. Now notice the terminology. Comes upon him. Okay. Watch verse 14. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul. Did everybody see the switch? Now, brethren, that's what it's telling you. I got one king. You see two, but I got one. Why does he make that move, brethren? Because he's showing the image. I'm going to only have one guy at all times that is the king. And if he doesn't show this image, we'll get confused about Christ. The immediate switch is, my spirit is going with David, and I'm telling Saul, see you, don't want to be here. I'm out. And it's instantaneous, verse 13 and 14. Well, Saul has read at this time, the reason the Spirit leaves him is because I'm going with David. I'm going with David. You out, son. I told y'all it's for real about what I said. You acting a fool with me? You're going to sit on the throne, but you're nothing but a big, tall giant keeping the seat warm. Can Saul still go to heaven? Yes. Is he? No. He's going to steal like a fool. Excuse me. Because the dude's just not right. He can't be king, so the Spirit can't stay with him as a king. The Spirit of the Lord is with Samuel as a prophet, not as a king. The Spirit of the Lord is with Samuel as a priest, not as a king. The Spirit of the Lord is upon David as the king, not with Saul. And nobody else is the king but David. And so Saul has the opportunity now to be a faithful servant in the post of a king and still go to heaven. But he doesn't. Like a lot of our leaders do when they fall. They're there as a shell, but the Lord is not with them. And you just keep listening to how they talk. You'll see, yeah, he's not with this guy. And you wonder why he's still there, because I'm just trying to show you. The Lord, I'm going to use to test you. Every time the Lord would leave something like that, he said, I use the Philistines to test you. They were so close to Israel. That's the group, that's one of the 7 nations the Lord said, I want them all. Sometimes we don't believe the Lord, brother. I just want to make sure we eat into this lesson like the best meal you can think of. The Lord names 7 nations, brethren. The Hittite one. There should be no Uriah the Hittite. Unless somehow he had came among the Israelites before the killing would start. But that's one of the 7 nations. He said they're too much for you to handle. Their women will ruin you. Everything will go bad. And so when they didn't kill him, he said, you know what I'm going to do? Since you didn't do it, he said, I'm going to use the Philistine, who was a close one to him, to test you all your day. They're going to be a thorn in your day. Every time they would look right over to the Philistine, they could see all kind of filthy, vile idolatry. Can you imagine words back and forth? The Philistines had built a garrison, just like as if you would go to downtown Houston and you'll find a Russian fort set up down there. Not no diplomat. I mean fort with guns where they'll bust a cap on you at any time they want. That's how it was. That's how bad it got after David. How they would implant garrisons, fortresses right there on your property. And the Lord would let it say, yes, I told you should have killed them when I told you. And brethren, I want to encourage you, get rid of your problem while it's small so you can handle it. Because the bigger it gets, the harder it is for you to take it off. And don't look to the Lord, because he said, I told you to get rid of it back then. I told you to get rid of it. And he means that. And we take for granted all the time. Because we look at the outward. Oh, it's just a lady. Oh, it's just a man. It's a beast inside. Fueled by the devil. I want to make a point here concerning Saul and David. Watch this. It doesn't say that, and the Spirit of the Lord fell upon David, and the evil spirit left him. It doesn't say that, did it? Now watch this. David is a good guy. David is a righteous young man. There's no evil spirit troubling him. Saul is unrighteous. And the Spirit of God can no longer be with him, so he leaves him. Now, if he's a righteous guy that just isn't a good king, then you would read, and the Spirit of the Lord departed from him, and that's it. And saying that evil spirit comes to trouble him. From who? Guess who? The Lord. Why? Because an evil spirit doesn't have the strength to come and overtake my Lord's children unless he say, green light, go get him if you want him. You can't do it. We saw that in Job. It's not happening. But the Lord said, yeah, I want you to go get him because he's been acting a fool with me. Troubling him. Because Saul is no good. But he starts out, he's the goodliest person in the land. How does that happen? The same way some of the people you know that used to walk with you in faith have departed. Yes, they were true. They were true to the game of fighting in the battle for the Lord. And they decided at some point, man, I'm tired of this. I'm done. And you go, I wonder if they was ever a believer. As a believer, this man is pointing out that the Lord says he's the best Israel got in height and in righteousness. He's the man. But now the Lord is done with him. Verse 15, and Saul's servants said unto him, behold, now an evil spirit from God troubleth thee. They know it too. Isn't that amazing? They know it too. Verse 16, let our Lord now command thy servants which are before thee to seek out a man who is a cunning player on the harp. And it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit from God is upon thee, that he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well. And Saul said unto his servants, provide me now a man that can play well, and bring him to me. Why do they say that? Why don't they just say we're going to just go on and go get one? He's still the king. He's still the king. And until God makes the switch, everything has to be done in order. So he tells them, okay. He says, okay, you can go do it. And they know if you send us, we'll go find. Because they will tell the land, hey man, we're looking for a guy who can play real good, who can really play. And we'll know when we hear him, Saul sent us. So they've got the authority to go do this. We need to understand whatever we do, let it be by the authority of God. Don't just go do something on your own, because, brethren, it will be to your ruin. Verse 18, forgive me. Then answered one of the servants and said, behold, I have seen a son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, that is cunning in playing. See, before they even waste time looking, say, man, I know a guy already. And so he says, he's cunning in the play that he does, and a mighty valiant man. Now, I want us to listen to how he's described. Now, see, he's not a little boy. He's a young man, but he's not a little boy. See, in our mind, we respect youth too much, to where we think youth is everything and age is foolishness. But we have to understand that when you're dealing with God, you can be 40 years old. And if you're doing something for the Lord, man, you got all kind of energy and strength. But a lot of people, when they look at 40 in certain land spaces like America, they figure you almost halfway washed up. But see, this is because why? We look at the outward, not the inward. That's the difference. It's the difference. And so he says here, but we know he's not that old, but we know he is a young man, too young for war, but still called a mighty man. He didn't call him a mighty little boy. A mighty man, valiant. He is very fearless. So he says, and a man of war. Now, do you see that? Now remember, still not going to war, but a man of war. David fight. Stories are out about his fierceness. You know, when you kill a lion in a battle, story gonna start to travel. This boy killed a lion in a battle. You put your sheep in this boy's hand, you can take it to the bank. They gonna come home every day, still the same number that left. And so he said, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, nice looking guy, and the Lord is with him. Boy, it's the package. See, because the story done floated out. See, the Lord is with him. The story done got out. See, and everybody kind of nervous, but it's out now. He said, and when Saul sent messengers unto Jesse and said, send me David thy son, which is with the sheep. And Jesse took an ass laden with bread, and a bottle of wine, and a kid, which is the goat, the beast, and sent them by David, or either the sheep, his son unto Saul. So he sent him some presents, and David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly. You just couldn't help but love that nice looking guy, mighty man of war. It's like, boy, nice looking, strong guy. Boy, this guy's the man. Can't help but love him like a son. And he became his armor bearer. So he becomes Saul's armor bearer. Now, I want y'all to remember this now. He carries Saul's armor. The stuff that he don't need till he needs it. So you let him know what you need at the time. You give it to him. You carry the stuff. Okay? Now, I want y'all to remember this. Very important we remember this point. Now, watch what's going to happen. We know when you start to get evil, things can go real bad for you. It says in verse 22, and Saul sent to Jesse, saying, let David, I pray thee, stand before me, for he hath found favor in my sight. It came to pass when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, from God, twice it's been upon him, sending him to us, that David took an harp and played with his hand, so Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. Wow. But see, he coming back. The lead, but he coming back. Why? Because this holy man is playing. And we got to get up out of here. You know, we can't, this guy messing up everything. And they come back again. Because see, they don't know what's going on. They come back again here. Oh, this boy come again playing, Now look at chapter 17. And when the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shoko, which belonged to Judah, and pitched between Shoko and Azekah in Ephes Damim, and Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion of the camp, the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, who was 6 cubits and a span. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armored with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a great target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear head weighed 600 shekels of iron. You realize how heavy this is? Just a spear head, the thing that slides through your body. See, when this guy threw it, it's like something heavy. So when it hit you, man, it just like sunk all in you. It just split you up. You was gone. Verse 8, it says, let's hear some more. It says, and one bearing a shield went before him. That's his shield. So he said, just like my armor bearer, he got my stuff. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel and said unto them, why are you come out to set your battle in array? Not I, a Philistine. And he says, you servants of Saul? So they know Saul's scared. See, he putting them in check. He said, I'm a Philistine. Y'all servants of Saul. It's like, aren't y'all supposed to be the bad boy? Got this guard and all that? Well, what's the deal? He says, choose you a man for you. And let him come down to me. He said, if y'all so bad, y'all serving Saul so bad, pick somebody. We're going to fight. If he be able to fight me and kill me, then we'll be your servant. See, you don't say stuff like that if you can't fight. Because man, whole nation finna lose. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall you be our servants and serve us. He said, that's how we're going to do it. Saul is extremely strong to carry this type of heavy thing. To throw a spear that heavy, you have to be strong. He's also extremely skilled, because Saul knows this. Goliath is extremely strong. And the thing about Goliath is he knows God has made him this way. But he's not giving God credit. But he knows, I whoop people. I'm very strong. I'm very big. I got heavy stuff. When I throw, I put some oomph to it. I am made. I'm powerful. And he's letting them know, I know I'm bad. And y'all don't have nobody that can whoop me. So he knows, instead of us getting into a big old fight, you sense, because he knows he's wise too. He knows, okay, we get into a major battle, y'all gonna be throwing spears everywhere. You might get me. You know, if you don't even get me, you're gonna get some of my people, y'all might overtake us. But at one-on-one, y'all don't have nobody, so he's wise. That's a hard guy to beat. You can't beat a guy like this without the Lord. It's like fighting the devil. Bigger than you, older than you, been fighting longer than you, invisible, can lie like nobody else, and he wise on sin. And so it says in verse 10, and the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. They know, man, he called us out. Now watch this. For David was the son of the Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. So the oldest sons that could fight and go out went and fought for like an old man like Jesse. He stayed back, sent the boys out to fight in the war. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle, these ones that were rejected by God: Eliab the firstborn, and next unto him Benadab, and the third Shammah. And David was the youngest and of the 3 elders, and the 3 elders followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his sheep at Bethlehem. So see, he played for Saul, go feed the sheep. Now Saul in a tent high right now. He's scared. Verse 16. And the Philistines drew near morning and evening and presented himself 40 days. 40 days he walked out and talked trash. And nobody said nothing, because they know, they can see, man, this dude. When he came near, they ran. Watch what the scriptures say. And Jesse said unto David his son, take now for thy brethren, that's his brothers, an ephah of this parched corn and this 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren. Bring him something to eat. And carry these 10 cheese into the captain of their thousand. So he's looking out for the leader of the son's group. And look now thy brethren, see how they fare, and take their pledge. Now Saul and they all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array on because they're ready to go. But remember, they're on one side of the mountain, the other on another mountain. And it's a battle land. He walking down the middle of the battle talking trash. You know, man, y'all they're not going to throw no spear at him. No, we do that, man, we're going to really whoop y'all. You know, so they all say scared of him. This is sad. Nevertheless, he said, and David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran to the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion of the Philistines. So while David talking to his brothers, you know, the Philistine come out. The trash-talking Philistine comes forward, and he begins, you know, to say, hey, you know, I'm going to tell you about y'all self and who I am. Again, 40 days. But this time David is there, and he says, Goliath came by name out of the armies of Philistine, and spake according to the same words that David heard. All men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, was sore afraid. See, when they line up for battle, so the big boy come out, they start running back again. Who want to die? This guy got a spear that the head weighs 600 shekels of iron. If you had 600 measured shekels of iron, like a coin, that's the head on the stick he throw. Man, you got to die. The guy hit you with something out here, man, it's gonna bust you up. It's like a bomb in you, almost a little grenade or something. And he gonna throw it with fierce because he's a big dude. Excuse me. So what happens, excuse me, is now David hear the story. Well, David finna do something now. Now remember, he's not a little boy. Keep stressing this because people have drawn a little boy. He is described to Saul as a guy who is good. The Lord is with him. He is mighty. He's valiant. He's not afraid. And he is a man of war. He's just too young to go to the war. He got 3 other sons that he's seeing. He's the youngest. He's not a little boy. And whoever drawing those pictures up like that, they blew it, because a little boy can't be no man of war. And so therefore he says, now David hears this nonsense speech, and the men of Israel said, they started talking to David, he talking to his brother, they start saying, they see David there. You don't tell a little boy something like that. You don't tell a little boy they're going to promise you his daughter. You're a little boy. This is a young man. You say, why keep stressing on that? Because I was told this nonsense that he's a little boy. He's not. This is what's wrong with denominational people. They can't even get the story right, saints. At least put a crooked preacher in the church or an elder deacon, you can at least get the truth to him. Now, he might not be living, you get the truth. In the denomination world, they live in ragging and teaching a lie. You can't win on no side. So he says here, have you seen this man that has come up? Should to defy Israel? Is he come up? See, this is the key that keeps coming out. He's defying Israel. He says, and it shall be that the man whom killeth the king, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter. You don't promise that to no little boy. And make his father's house free in Israel. No taxes. No taxes, plus you get a pot full of a load of money, and you get the king's daughter. Man, this is a win-win. And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that killed the Philistines? He him talking crazy, like, and it's a reward too. Y'all letting him talk crazy, and y'all running, and it's a reward. What is it going to be again? And they take it to, he says, and he taketh away the reproach from Israel. For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the arms of the living God? He said, who is this guy? He seen the size. He said, what is it about him that y'all let him defy the army of the living God? This is a living God, not a dead God like that God. And you letting him defy your army because he is the strength of your army. This is the same as defying God. So David spake to these men that way in verse 27. And the people answered him after this manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killeth him. Verse 28. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when they spake the men out to him. See now, first he was talking to his brothers. Then the men start talking about the story. He hear the crazy giant. Then he starts asking more questions. They start breaking it down to him. So, Eliab is mad, because he's saying, this boy can't do nothing. He's not in a war, but he's mightier than them. Because they're looking at the outward. He's a nice looking guy. We say he would be what you would consider a model. He was beautiful, ruddy, and good to look at. That's a model. You got a guy, this is a man. That's why Samuel, this the kid. This the guy you picking. And he says, his anger was kindled against David. And he said, why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? See, I'm a discrediting. Y'all talked about, but I done. He ain't got but a few sheep. My dad let them watch a few sheep in the wilderness. Where they at? And then he criticizes him and demeans him. I know thy pride and naughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. He's a liar too. That's why, now you see why God done picked this big dummy. David came because his daddy loved these 3 knucklehead sons. He wanted to bring them some food, see if they're alive, see if they're okay, and bring the captain of the group something to eat. He only came because his daddy told him. So watch David responds. What have I now done? You know what? Now listen, what have I now done? Now done. See, when you say something like that, it's not the first time people acting crazy. See, if you came and said something to me and said, what have I done now? You obviously said something crazy before. You don't use the word now. So, this is nothing new to David. Is there not a cause? He's saying, is there not a reason to be talking about this stuff? Y'all don't hear this dude? And it's a prize too? All this stuff you get just for killing him? And he turned from him toward another. So that's what you do with knuckleheads. You turn from them and talk to the people who got some sense. And spake out the same. He said, now what's the detail about the gifts you get? And the people asked him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spake. Now watch this. Now remember something. The Spirit immediately left Saul and went to David. That's why we're telling you, David is the actual king now. Saul is the stand-in, the cardboard. He's no longer with the Lord. The Lord is not with him. An evil spirit troubles him, and the Spirit of the Lord is upon David. David is the king already. This is why God is going to allow him to win the battle, and Saul is hiding and fearful inside of his tent because he is no longer God's king. And so what happens is, he says, and they rehearsed them before Saul, and he said to them. So they went back and said, man, it's a young dude out here, and man, he asked about the gifts, and he said, this guy coming out here defying the living God. His brothers try to say something to him. He turned from them. I mean, did you hear what this guy said? He said he defied all of them God. So Saul hears a word. What does those words sound like, brother? The words of a fearless man, which Saul used to be. Remember when Saul took his first battle, he said he took up an ox and cut him into pieces. And he said, send a piece to all these different districts around there and tell them, if you don't come help me, I'm going to cut up your animals like that. That was the voice of a fearless man. Now Saul's a coward because he turns back on the Lord. Each of you and I will become a coward spiritually when we turn our back on the Lord. You can take that to the bank. And when you hear the voice of strength, you'll be drawn to lean to let that voice do the battle because you just don't have it no more. So Saul knows this guy. It sounds like somebody. And David said to Saul, let no man heart fail because of him. Look how he come talking to Saul. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against the Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. See, he's the kind of guy that's been fighting since he was young. David is a man of war, but David is not in this type of battle. He said, this big giant has been fighting. He's a big guy since he was young, like you. He says, so he's a seasoned warrior now. He says, and David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. So he takes a lion, he go out there, kills it, take the animal out of his mouth, and look what happens. He says, and when he rose against me, I caught him by his beard. He mad, he took my food out and smote him and slew him. I caught him, took the lion, took the sheep out. When he rose up, this lion is almost 9 feet tall. When they stand up, I'm going to grab the beard, but I can get the beard, and whoop, I got him. And he said, thy servant slew both the lion and the bear. He says, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he had defied the arms of the living God. David's constant speech is he's defied the arms of the living God. That's what David knows. Oh, he'll help me because it's his battle. David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. Now see that last part? Go and the Lord be with thee. See, that's the voice of a person that's the servant. See, the Lord be with you. Because Saul he's sure not with me. I got evil spirits coming to bother me. That's why I'm hiding in this tent. See, I'm going to give you my arm. He says, and Saul, remember something. Remember I told y'all to take note. This boy had been playing for Saul. He's so evil, God doesn't even let him remember what he looked like. Y'all got me? Remember, he's a nice looking kid. A model looking type guy. When Saul first saw him, he loved him. He been playing. This idiot doesn't even remember. This is the boy played for me. But wait a minute. Remember I told you make note? He is his armor bearer. You always know who your armor bearer is. That's who carries stuff you're not fighting with him. When you throw something, hey, give me this here now. And you go. You know him. But I'm such a devil. Remember the two going to Emmaus? I'm such an unbeliever. You think the Lord going to let me see his son and I don't believe? You think the Lord going to let this crook Saul know who David is anymore? You're not worthy. You're just a servant. This is the real King David. He doesn't even know who he is. What? Evil spirit bothering you. I'm taught from the floor. I'm constantly lying, acting crazy with God. And you think I'm going to stay balanced? No, brethren. That would be a miracle that God not going to aid us in heaven. So he says, he put his helmet on, a brass upon his head. So Saul gives him all his coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor. And he said, I have not proved this. And David said to Saul, I cannot go with these. I have not proved them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. We'll stop right here. See, David used to carry Saul's armor, but he never fought with it. He fights with the tools that God gave him. See, brethren, you and I need to understand something. When a guy got something that's not helping him, and he's scared because God not with him, why would you take it up? Why would we go and have a health fair and buy backpacks? Is that armor bringing them to the Lord? No, they're bringing them to you. We improve them. We can't test that. So we fight with what? The stone Jesus that's cut out without hands. And that's what we hurl. Brethren, this is like a baby step story to link this together. He got 5 stones. He takes them out with the first one. He still got 4 more words you can hurl. You can take out a big giant crook with the first statement. The rest will just be to plummet him. Because he's going to take the sword out later and cut him with his own sword, just like we cut them with their own lives. If you truly believe that the Lord word is right, why don't you leave the part about baptism that women can't preach and that you're not the king of the church? So it cut you with your own sword, because that's what you said. Don't take your own sword and cut you. So out there, we'll stop here with this lesson, this portion. If anybody have any questions, we'll close out. As he pointed out, Saul is called the king and looked at as a king, respected as a king. He is done. God is through with him because he's evil. And that's what happens when we are not with the Lord. If you're here, you're not a member of the church and listen to the message, you have to understand if you have stepped outside of God, the point is there's an ending and we want it to be good for you. How does it work? The first group, if you haven't obeyed the gospel, you've got to be baptized to be saved. There's no other way around it. Acts 19:1-5 says, even if you were dipped in water, you thought your sins were removed. Even with John's baptism that's in the Bible, they aren't, because Pentecost has said there's only one way. If you believe that, Jesus said he would die and be buried, on third day he rise again. 1 Corinthians 15:1-4. Jesus said in Mark 16-15, go into all the world and preach the gospel, which is that good news. He that believes and is baptized shall be saved. He that believes not shall be damned. And so therefore when Peter preaches it, he teaches the holiest of holy, the Jews, and they ask him in verse 37, men and brethren, what shall we do? And he says in verse 38, repent and be baptized. Same thing Jesus said. For the sins are removed. And you receive the gift of the Holy Ghost. This is the key. Why? It's a promise on you, your children, all that are father, even as men as the Lord our God shall call. And in other words, he testified and encouraged them, save yourself from this untoward, that is, this perverted generation. Then they that gladly received the word were baptized the same day. 3,000 souls added unto them. They continued steadfast in what? The apostle doctrine, breaking of bread, and in prayer. The fellowship, which is so critical. 1 John 1 and the entire chapter. Walk in the light as Christ walks in the light, not as man. And he says, the Lord, Acts 2:47, asks to the church daily, such should be saying, only the Lord can do this. And then you see in Acts chapter 8, the eunuch says, I see water. Well, that's good, but there's something else got to be done. What hinders me? Philip tells him, if you believe with all your heart, you may. So he tells him how he must think. We tell people how to think. And then he must say it that same way in his heart. And then the Holy Spirit will baptize him. Because when Philip puts him in water, that's not going to save him. If the Spirit doesn't baptize, that's why Paul says in 1 Corinthians 12:13, for by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether Jew or Gentile, bond or free, and have all been made to drink into one Spirit. The scriptures are clear. This action saved. 1 Peter 3:21-22. The like figure, while even baptism is also now save us. Not the putting away of the filth of flesh, but the answer for good conscience toward God. By the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who's going to heaven, angels, authorities, and powers are subject unto him. If you believe that, saints of God, Jesus gave a message, Revelation 2:10. The devil shall cast some of you into prison. You won't get around that one, brother. You pray all day. If you the son, he's going to let us get cast into prison. Tribulation 10 days. It's not going to be 9.5, 10. He says, but be thou faithful unto death. And guess who's going to help us? Christ. He said, you receive everlasting life. We cannot hide from what the devil is bringing if the Lord has chosen. Neither could Job. And we have suffering on our plate, Paul promised, if we trust God. It's on the plate. We got to take it. But we can make it. If we help one another, God will be with us. If you need to be baptized, call the number on the screen. If you're here, you need to be baptized. Stay standing when we sit down. But remember this. If you're here and you've gotten off track, please come to the Lord now and ask for restitution while together we stand and sing Heaven's invitation. Oh, do not let the word depart, and close thine eyes against the light. O sinner, harden not your heart. Be saved, oh, tonight. Oh, why not tonight? Why?